purpose of this short video is to explain how African horse sickness control would be organised should the disease reach the UK. First of all, what is African horse sickness? It is an orbovirus which affects equines, and it is in the Rheoviridae family. There are 9 distinct serotypes of the virus, and these are transmitted by midges called Culicornes invicola and Culicornes boletinos. It is closely related to the blue tongue virus, which was an unexpected visitor to the UK in 2008, which indicates that the unexpected can become reality. Mortality rate in horses can be from 75 to 90%. In mules it can be 50%, and in donkeys it can be 10%. Dogs can also die as a result of eating infected horse meat. The incubation period for the disease is 7 to 14 days, but it can be as short as 2 days. Zebras are the natural maintenance host for African horse sickness, and they only display very mild symptoms. The disease is usually considered endemic in Africa, however it has occurred in Europe before. So how can you spot African horse sickness? There are 4 different types of the disease. First of all is the subclinical form, where the horse will show a high fever of 40 to 40.5 degrees Celsius, and the horse may appear off colour for a few days. The second form is the cardiac form, which is where the horse has a raised temperature of 39 to 41 degrees Celsius, as well as swelling of the supraorbital fossa, eyelids, facial tissue, neck and shoulders. The death usually occurs within 1 week. The third form is an acute respiratory form, where the horse will have a fever, shortness of breath, coughing, and frothy fluid pouring out of its nostrils, with possible blood around the eyes. The animal usually dies within a week of anorexia. The most common type is a combination of the cardiac and pulmonary forms, where there are mild pulmonary symptoms, fluid-filled swellings, and there is death from cardiac failure usually within a week. A control pyramid can be used to illustrate the structure of disease control, from local level up to international level. African horse sickness is a notifiable disease under the 1981 Animal Health Act. Therefore, local vets must report suspected disease to their local animal health office. The Animal Health Office is an executive agency of DEFRA, which is the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. It is divided into regional departments as well as a national central laboratory, which is the Institute for Animal Health. The UK forms part of the tripartite agreement, which facilitates the free movement of animals between the UK, Ireland and France. However, the condition of this is that where disease is present, the countries must be informed and movement may be stopped. As previously mentioned, the UK National Reference Laboratory is the Institute of Animal Health in Pirbright. Here they standardise diagnostic tests, they confirm positive results, and they also have a vector laboratory. The EU Community Reference Lab is in Spain, and here they coordinate and standardise member states' diagnosis, they type and store African horse sickness strains, and they carry out African horse sickness surveillance worldwide. They also train laboratory experts. At the international level, the OIE regulate animal disease control. This stands for the World Organization for Animal Health. The headquarters are based in Paris. The OIE puts legislation in place which relates to the phytosanitary and sanitary agreement, which facilitates free international trade. To prove disease freedom to export, the OIE has prescribed trade tests. The OIE also keep a World Animal Health Information Database, where recent outbreaks are reported online. So what would happen if African horse sickness came to the UK? The following control zones would be put in place if we had an outbreak in the UK. A 20-kilometre control zone would be put around the infected premises. A 100k protection zone would be put in surrounding this due to the distance that midges can move. A further 50-kilometre zone would be put in where surveillance will take place. In the control zone, no horse, carcass, feed or bedding can move. The horse infected may be slaughtered with no compensation. In a protection zone, horses can only move with a licence after a health check and with a passport. If vaccination is ever used, the horse can't move at all within 60 days. A horse can move from the surveillance zone into the protection zone, but it can't move back out. Outside of the zone, horses can move freely as normal. This map shows the size of the control zones in a theoretical outbreak in the UK. Stakeholder engagement is key in disease control strategies. The African Horse Sickness Working Group has been put together by the Horse Trust. It consists of government, industry and sector stakeholders who inform policy making. They advise the government on the preparedness in the case of an outbreak and advise on potential control options available. The Expert Advisory Group is a panel of scientific experts who advise the government on policy making. They have inputs into decisions in policy development and outbreak control. They do not advise on policy as a whole, but they advise on specific technical issues or impact scenarios. They give evidence for quick policy making in the face of an outbreak, and they advise on preventing disease spread. There are separate panels to cover the devolved administrations. In the event of a high risk or an outbreak, communication is essential by raising stakeholder awareness. DEFRA and the working group will communicate the clinical signs, prevention measures, as well as the movement restrictions. Vets must also be reminded of the clinical signs and their responsibility to report the disease. This will be facilitated by various veterinary organisations. There are a number of different stakeholders which have invested money into disease prevention in the UK. DEFRA, the Institute of Animal Health and Pfizer have set up a collaboration to develop a safer vaccine in the next few years. The Horse Trust chairs the African Horse Sickness Working Group, and a number of other charities participate in this. There are large organisations within the equine sector who would be greatly affected by African horse sickness outbreak. Insurance companies have also invested money into research for the disease. The University of Reading have carried out an impact assessment which valued the equine industry at £7 billion and the impact of African horse sickness at £3.5 billion. A vaccine bank containing 900,000 live vaccines has been put together by the EU. However, it is unlikely that these would be used because of safety concerns with the vaccine. DEFRA has therefore funded over £500,000 for a 3-year project with Pfizer and the Institute of Animal Health to develop a safer vaccine that could be used to prevent an outbreak here in the UK. A reviewed contingency plan will also be released next month as a result of stakeholder input. The government is applying its prevention is better than cure policy for African horse sickness. It would have severe consequences on the industry, so strong stakeholder pressure has forced the government to invest in contingency plans and vaccine development. Communication and consultation with stakeholders is key in developing contingency plans, which leads to the best overall control options and better preparedness in the event of an outbreak.